I am Anthony from Net, and today we're going to review Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. It is a tale as old as time, well, at least as old as April 26, 1989, when Dragon Ball Z premiered on Japanese television. In the years since, more manga, merchandise, television series, and video games have spun off from the original Dragon Ball manga. This time around, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot returns to the source material, but instead of purely being based in the fighting genre as the video game series has become best known, Bandai Namco has switched to the role-playing genre. This is not the first time a Dragon Ball game has been set in an RPG setting on console. As many forget the likes of Dragon Ball Z Sagas in 2005, if you consider the game to be an RPG, but then there are other great games like the handheld Legacy of Goku series. I am not going to recap the story because chances are that if you are tuned into here, you are most likely already aware. Although I would like to point out the nice bit of fan service sprinkled throughout. Dragon Ball characters make appearances despite never being in Dragon Ball Z, but I suspect we can thank the popularity of Dragon Ball Super for resurrecting these characters. Despite that, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot follows the main story beats of the anime, but adds a layer of side events and polished story elements. Think of it like Dragon Ball Z Kai of the Dragon Ball Z video games. Looking at the graphics, I have to say that it looks like the anime where it counts. The 3D character designs and structures match the aesthetics perfectly. The energy attacks provide a nice bit of realism, and the way they are lit. I just like how sparkly they are. However, sometimes the camera during battles can be annoying. There were a few times where I was stuck in front of the wall or behind an object, unsure which way I should move to get a view of my enemy. In the meantime, I am getting slammed and unable to fly up or down to get out of the way. Which brings me to another complaint. Battles do not allow for manual vertical movement, and the way the face buttons operate seems inverse to those of Xenoverse, something that I've become accustomed to over the years. To top it off, you cannot customize your controls. During heated battles, I would revert to Xenoverse controls and lose my battle as a result. The learning curve to adapt to these new controls is annoying to say the least. At least the shoulder buttons are not so far off as they are a detriment. My ideal face button setup is square or X for attack, triangle or Y as rush, circle or B as Kai, and cross or A as jump. Of course, these are PlayStation and Xbox controls. The background sounds are typical Dragon Ball, as is the music. The only problem that I have with the sound is that the music in the open areas gets tedious. It is easy to lose time collecting items and the like, but eventually the music got on my nerves, so I had to turn it down. The voice acting is top-notch, as most of the original cast reprises their roles. However, I discovered a few bugs while playing version 1.02. Now when you log into the game, it'll tell you at the top right side of the screen what version you're playing. First, a copy of Goku was standing in the woods where the game started. During the intermission before tracking down riders to save Gohan, I ended up battling some robots, and when I returned to the open area, Goku fell off of Nimbus into the ocean. Problem is, in the open areas, if you cannot fly or speedrun, you will drown if dropped into the middle of the ocean and cannot find dry land in time. That is something that I did over and over. Luckily, my autosave from nearly 15 minutes earlier from when Reddit initially took Gohan from Kami House was still intact. So I lost a lot of collected items and power-ups when I hit that bug, but the show must go on. The other bug that I discovered was that sometimes after story beats, the enemies in the open areas would stop noticing me. I would get in front of them, I would Kai blast them, I would rub against them to no avail. It seemed to fix itself when I would switch areas. If you go in the open world map and you just pick another area and then they seem to be recognizing you again, or you can go back to the same area as long as you change areas, and then they seem to work again. But despite my complaints, I still really enjoyed myself. I spent the last 75% of my playtime collecting items and exploring. It was not intentional, but it happens, and I accept it because the world is alive and immersed. Nothing that you do in the open areas provides much experience points, however, but you gain a lot of experience points during the main story battles. The exploration of the open areas allows for a few customization options to make the character more your own, such as you can change the moves and give them latent abilities, as well as transformations later in the game. If you love Dragon Ball Z and role-playing games, this game is definitely for you. If you're looking for a fighting game and did not like the Xenoverse series as much as Fighter Z, you probably should look elsewhere. Thank you for checking out our content. Before you leave, please remember to click like and then subscribe. If you want to receive notifications, do not forget to enable them by clicking on the bell. Then afterwards, check out our social media at HaslageNet and our website at haslage.net.